Hello and welcome to Block's Live TV. Today is Thursday, March the 7th. We're now live with the latest in the crypto world. It's 9:30 a.m. in New York City, 2:30 p.m. in London, 11:30 p.m. in Tokyo and 3:30 p.m. here in Malta. Well, the total market capitalization rose just slightly over the past 24 hours to just slightly north of the $134 billion zone, printing a fresh high for March. Well, the gradual increase took the cryptocurrency index CCI 30 above the 2,300 point level. The index has gained more than 5% so far this year, and the indicator is 2% in the green month to date. The 30-day Bitcoin volatility index stood just slightly south of the 3% mark for the 9th consecutive day yesterday. BTC has been mostly stable, apart from the reverse Bart-Simpson move that we saw earlier in the week. The 24-hour traded volume has eased back slightly, but it remains at an elevated level of more than $31 billion. This indicates that trading is a lot more active than it was during the bearish January. While some altcoins like Binance Coin have shown bullish performance over the recent days, and the Bitcoin dominance indicator has continued edging slightly further south of the 52% level. The top 5 digital assets are mostly trading in the green. Bitcoin has found support above the $3,900 zone. Ethereum rose briefly above the $140 level, but the gains did not stick. While XRP has retreated slightly after testing the 32-cent resistance line. EOS has posted a new high for March as it rose above the $3.90 line. Litecoin continues to shine, printing a new high for the year as it's traded at more than $58. The Coin 360 heat map shows a generally mixed picture, but the big caps do not show any major moves. According to the Token Spread website, the biggest buy and sell side difference for the Bitcoin dollar is on the XMO exchange at 0.23%. The BitMEX and Bitfinex exchanges show the biggest intermarket spread of slightly less than 3%. Well, to wrap up the segment, we'll take a look at some of the characteristics of Icon, which is a decentralized blockchain network. The development platform aims to be a framework for various enterprise and organization chains from a wide range of industries. Icon uses an interesting approach as governance and reward distribution is calculated based on artificial intelligence. The platform's native token has the ticker ICX, and it's based on the ERC-20 standard. The price of this digital asset peaked at $12 in early 2018, while as of today, it trades at just slightly south of the 30-cent mark. Well, we'll now review the performance of the cryptocurrency asset classes. Well, this is according to data from the Messari website, which groups cryptocurrencies into 5 major categories. The infrastructure group stands just slightly in the negative territory. This is despite the mostly bullish performance of the top assets in this class. The media and entertainment category posts the biggest decline, as it's nearly 2% in the red. Most of the top digital assets are trading lower. The financial sector shows the top increase, as it's up by more than 2%. Binance Coin is the bullish driver here with a double-digit jump. The currency category has gained less than 1%, as most of the cryptocurrencies post increases. And lastly, the services section has gained nearly 1%, as it's driven higher by the bullish Huobi token. Well, this is how the major digital asset classes have performed so far on this Thursday. And in the final segment of this market update, we'll take a look at the most significant moves among the top 100 CoinMarketCap front page assets. Well, there are 7 digital assets that are up by double digits. The ABBC coin tops the gainer section with a massive rise of 58%. The former Alibaba coin continues its mission to the moon, and it's already up by nearly 1,000% over the past month. It's changed its name to ABBC after Chinese online retail giant Alibaba won a copyright case in the US against the Dubai-based foundation. The bullish performance continues for Raven coin as well. The daily gain measures at 24%, and the asset is up by more than 100% over the past 7 days. March has been bullish so far for Digitex futures token, and it's up by 15% today. The asset has gained more than 50% over the past 7 days. The Binance Exchange token was trading at less than $7 in early February. The asset trades at more than $15 today, the highest level since June of last year. The volatile Aurora token has broke through the 1 cent level on a daily increase of 13%. Now, there are some significant declines here as well. The repo token surged towards the end of last year. The altcoin is down by 12% on a daily traded volume of just $120,000 as it remains above the 50-cent mark. The volatile rate movement continues for Quant token, and it's down by nearly 10% as it dropped below the $4 level once again. The Nexo token broke through the 10-cent level yesterday, but a correction of 8% has wiped out some of the recent gains. The Holo token has seen a bumpy ride over the past week as well, and it's 5% in the red. The Theta token recovered after dropping earlier in the week, but another decline of nearly 5% puts the price of the token at less than 14 cents. Well, these are the top 24-hour moves during the European morning trading session on this Thursday. We'll now discuss the latest moves with our market experts, Jason Fernandez, COO and co-founder of AE Token. Hi, Jason. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jessica.
Great to have you back. So we're going to jump straight in because we've got a lot to discuss today. First of all, Jason, markets remain as active. Traded volume is up nearly double from the level that we saw during the bearish January. So the market cap has hit a fresh high for the month today. March is now in the green. Can we see a second and green month in a row for digital assets?
So I think that's certainly a possibility. We're certainly looking at that, and the probability for that is higher than it was last month. I mean, we see that Starbucks announced that it has a significant stake in the upcoming Bakkt platform, and essentially that's going to be really huge because, as we know, Bakkt is looking to launch physically backed BTC futures, and since it's physically backed, that will really increase the demand for Bitcoin. And essentially, Starbucks is saying that they're going to install Bakkt payment software in its stores, which means you can basically buy your latte with cryptocurrency, which is a really huge deal because there's a huge correlation between the kind of people that come to Starbucks stores and the kind of people that invest in cryptocurrency. So I think it's like a really good marriage, and I think that that really means a lot. I think more than people would initially think in terms of like what it's going to do to the crypto market in general, and what it's going to do for for Bitcoin in particular.
And it's certainly exciting indeed. Now, also ETC Labs have recently announced that Ether is getting closer to being tokenized on the Ethereum Classic network. So why is there such a need for such cross-chain integration after a split, and what does it mean for ETC and ETH price?
So as you pointed out, Ethereum Classic is basically an offshoot of Ethereum, and the two cryptocurrencies essentially forked. They forked out of Ethereum essentially due to there were serious philosophical differences between the two, arising from how the community would deal with the hack that took place of some $50 million with a cryptocurrency. And essentially what ended up happening was one group decided, something like 10% of them decided to offshoot and voted to keep the chain the way it was. And the rest, 90%, essentially voted for changes that would basically make Ethereum brand new and Ethereum Classic sort of like the old version. And I think that there's been major philosophical differences between the two. So its interoperability has always been good. And it's really good to see sort of, in a sense, these two cryptocurrencies sort of getting back together and being able to work with each other now. So this initiative is known as Peace Bridge, and uses a co-signed chain of custody to verify transactions across two chains. And essentially, their design addresses the high gas cost and employs a trustless custodian. So that will allow these two cryptocurrencies to talk to each other much easier and sort of communicate back and forth in terms of converting basically ETH into ECC and vice versa. So I think that's a good sign.
Good sign. Okay, great. And now also there are some services which offer interest returns on cryptocurrency deposits. So Jason, I just want to ask, can you please explain to our viewers that are watching how this works, if this is something that might be used more, especially for those who do choose to hold?
Yeah, I mean, I think this really is interesting because it introduces the concept of compound interest to crypto. Warren Buffett famously said, and he's a notorious crypto skeptic, famously said that his wealth has come from a combination of living in America, lucky genes, and compound interest. And essentially, BlockFi has released a product called the BlockFi Interest Account, and it's live, and it allows customers an annual interest rate of 6%. Paid on a monthly basis in cryptocurrency. And essentially that monthly interest is compounded to produce something like a 6.2% annual percentage yield. And essentially that's been huge for the company because BlockFi itself has grown something like tenfold since June. And now that's just one possible model. Another model is essentially this model essentially allows you to borrow cash against cryptocurrencies, but there are a couple others. So there's a model where companies let you borrow crypto in exchange for dollars, and that's something that Genesis Capital is looking at. And also crypto for other crypto, which is something that OKCoin has just released a product called OKCoin Piggyback, whereby the money that the cryptocurrency that's in your exchange account is essentially earning interest and allows you to switch between currencies depending on which currencies are earning the highest interest. And I think that's a real game changer because that sets upon a particular kind of momentum for cryptocurrencies because people are essentially betting that those cryptocurrencies will be worth more over time, and essentially they're paying interest for access to certain cryptocurrencies. And there's basically two primary reasons where investors would consider crypto-related lending. And one of them particularly would have a great impact on the current market climate. So one would be essentially investors put up their cryptocurrency holdings as collateral to take out cash loans to pay bills and complete home renovations and stuff. And investors can obtain this cash without having to cash out their holdings. The other reason for the collateralizing crypto assets is short selling. So short sellers can collateralize their cryptocurrencies to place a bet at a price of a crypto asset that a price of crypto asset will decline. And when the open short is closed, the investor that placed the bet will basically receive cash or additional sum of cryptocurrency. So essentially it allows people to profit regardless of whether it's a bear market or not. And that's actually been really evident by the way a lot of these companies have been able to raise money. So for example, Genesis processed $550 million during its first 6 months of activity, and they've issued $700 million in loans. So, and they have approximately about $140 million in loans outstanding with an average duration of 6 weeks. So this is like a massive new frontier, and I think it's going to become larger and larger, and it's going to start being pretty standard rates for cryptocurrencies, and I think that'll bring some balance to the market.
And you mentioned frontiers there and also impact on the market. Now, the Swiss cryptocurrency exchange SIX, well, it continues leading when it comes to exchange-traded crypto products. So they've now listed 3 ETPs, crypto-backed indexes, and more recently, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETPs. What does this mean for the markets, Jason?
So, I mean, obviously this introduces basically more institutional money to the market, and that's always a good thing. One plus is that it hopefully may nudge the SEC to act and approve some of these Bitcoin ETFs because they may feel increased pressure from this side. And I think anything that introduces institutional money is a good thing. And clearly, the Swiss cryptocurrency exchange is sort of at the forefront of this so far. But it'll really be interesting to see once American firms are able to do the same.
And also Litecoin has been leading cryptocurrency in the past few weeks. We spoke about this a little bit yesterday in our show. In the past 7 days alone, it's increased by price about 20%. So Matty Greenspan yesterday mentioned that it could be due to the upcoming block reward halving. What's your thoughts, and what do you think the reason might be for this bullish drive that we are seeing?
So I think to some extent, the block reward halving, which is basically going from $25 to about $12.50, I think that's been priced in for a while. I mean, people that are invested in Litecoin are aware of this and have been aware of this for a while. Some of the things that they've been doing really that's been really good for them is they've been sort of focusing on privacy and security. And they've even spoken about essentially looking into a Mimblewimble implementation. So these are the sort of things that have been sort of bullish factors for Litecoin. But one of the interesting things is that there is a high Bitcoin correlation with Litecoin. So Litecoin does tend to mirror somewhat what Bitcoin does. And so since Bitcoin has been doing well, that's sort of helped Litecoin. But the most recent rally, I think, it can be most closely attributed to essentially like Venezuela. So Litecoin has seen 500 million added to its market cap over just the last few days, and it essentially comes as Venezuela launches a government-sanctioned cryptocurrency remittance service. So that allows users to send Bitcoin and Litecoin into the country. And that's been a huge problem. Obviously, currency has been a huge problem for Venezuela. And the idea is it's supposed to guarantee financial inclusion and social protection for people of Venezuela. But essentially, it can be disabled at any time, depending on the availability of funds in Bolivar. But the point is that that's seen massive interest and increased trading from Venezuela. And I think that increased volume and that increased demand has driven up the price of Litecoin.
Absolutely. And now in February, Bitcoin registered the first month-to-month increase since July 2018. Now it could break through the $4,000 level anytime. So Jason, will it still need to go beyond the $4,200 mark before we can safely say that we are on this bullish momentum?
So I think I would actually go so far as to say it has to cross 5,000 before people start feeling comfortable. I mean, we're still in the 3,000 to 5,000 dollar range, and really 4,000, even 4,200 isn't really a significant sort of psychological barrier yet. It's really proved to be somewhere around the 5,000 mark. But clearly the next step would be 4,000. The next step after that would be somewhere around 4,200. And yeah, as trading volumes increase, and if that price is able to inch up, and we've seen over the past few days, post the news from Starbucks, the price has managed to inch up. If that stays the way it is, we'll start seeing that more and more.
And are you expecting it to reach the $5,000 mark anytime soon, Jason, or is it just wait and see at the moment?
Well, I don't think it's going to hit the 5,000 mark anytime soon. But I think clearly, if we start seeing more and more, like I would say, if you start seeing more and more volume and the price push up, that'll sort of have a compounding effect. And basically, we could be looking at 5,000 sooner rather than later, perhaps maybe in the next month.
Okay, because we are seeing some good developments come out in the news, but we're also seeing some interesting developments as well. So Coinbase has been all over the headlines due to this controversial acquisition of Neutrino, and its statement that the analytic firm has worked with illegal sales customer data. The issues of the XRP destination tags has also had wide coverage from Coinbase. Will these issues have an impact on the market as well, Jason?
Yeah, I think they will. Just to explain the whole XRP destination tag issue, there are a few cryptocurrencies, Monero, Stellar, and XRP, that use destination tags, and essentially they're essentially identifying bits of data that allow exchanges to make sure that the funds go to the right user. And if you don't include those funds, if you don't include those numbers rather, or those codes, when it gets there, it might end up in some sort of limbo because they're not able to, the exchange is not able to credit it to the correct person. So thus far, Coinbase has been essentially saying that when these tags are incorrect or not properly formatted, that the money is lost, and that's clearly not been the case, because we know that it's that basically it's just a question of the same user sending that money, sending another transaction from the same address to prove that they own that address. And this is basically what BitTrue and a lot of other cryptocurrency companies and exchanges are doing. So BitTrue manually allocates funds if there's missing a wrong destination tag, whereas Wirex and Kraken basically do the same thing. So basically, Coinbase's refusal to do this has led many people to be rather irritated and essentially feel that they're looking at a sort of like a high-handed behavior from Coinbase. And really, this hasn't been resolved yet. And to make things worse, Coinbase, like you pointed out, Coinbase recently acquired Neutrino, which is a blockchain analytics company. And the main controversy with that is that Neutrino is made up of former members of the hacking team. which is accused of selling spyware to oppressive governments around the world, which is obviously something that the Coinbase users, a lot of Coinbase users, are not really happy with. But they made things worse because they recently had an interview, if things could actually get any worse. They recently had an interview where they said that the reason they bought Neutrino was because their previous analytics providers was selling client data to outside sources. Now, they hadn't quite mentioned that before, that this data was being sold, so that was news to a lot of people. But the fact is that they were working with a couple of companies, which they're not really, we're not really sure which companies that they're working with, but Messari says it was probably Chain Analysis and Elliptic. And these guys basically work with, in order to use a firm's surveillance technology, the exchange must provide the data about their customers. So it's sort of a quid pro quo, and the surveillance firms can use that data on. So regardless of whether the exchange is happy or not. So that was a major problem, and they said that that's why they moved to Neutrino. But the way while Neutrino is owned by Coinbase, it's operating as a separate company. So it's still able to provide data to governments on who's moving what money where. And the question is whether they'll be able to harvest Coinbase's treasure trove of personal data. Now, their current privacy policy suggests no, but that could change in the future. We've seen this be a problem with Facebook and WhatsApp in the past. So it's a really controversial problem, and it's essentially it's just been ballooned out of control because it's one problem or the other for Coinbase.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that and for joining us on today's live show, Jason. It's always a pleasure to get your insights. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you. Well, before we sign off, I do have a last-minute update from our editorial staff regarding the crypto market. The total market capitalization has stayed near the highest level for this month, and the 24-hour traded volume is still above the $30 billion mark. Binance Coin remains the top performer among the large caps, and its double-digit gain puts it at the 7th spot by market capitalization. But as a result, Tether has been pushed lower to the 8th position. Well, that's all for this Thursday's Crypto Now live show. We thank Jason Fernandez for his expert analysis. We thank you, the audience, for joining us, and invite you all to accompany us every weekday at this same time.